Hello there and welcome back. Today let's have a look at states in QML. So I've drawn this diagram having three rectangles having different colors just to demonstrate what we mean by states. So for instance, you have a button on your screen and this button might be having three states or even more. One is the default this state whereby the color is maybe red, and then when you hover your mouse over it, the color changes to maybe an orange color. When you click it, it becomes green. So this button can then be said as three states, whereby you have a default state, you have a hovered state, and you have a click state. So states are basically different ways of having a different representation depending on some data which you have. Other forms of state, you may think of them as maybe you want to manipulate the object dimensions depending on some parameters. A good example you can think about is you have a sidebar menu, and this sidebar menu can either be hidden, can be minified, or it can be expanded. So if maybe you're having a responsive design, maybe when you're in a tablet mode, you want the sidebar menu to be a bit smaller in size, and then when you are in mobile state, you want the sidebar menu to be completely hidden, maybe turn it into a drawer. And then when you're in a desktop mode, you want that maybe sidebar to be expanded. So you might have different kind of states that actually define the properties that change when these states become true. So to see how to play around with this in QML, let's switch over to our Qt creator and see how to work out a few samples on them. So this is a new project I've done in Qt creator, and I'm working using Felgo because I want to use the live editor. That way I don't have to be running the project every time I do some changes. But today what we'll be focusing more is just how to see how to utilize states. So just for the start, let me just change it to QML. Maybe let me just fix the height to and save that. Good. So utilize states. So one, there needs to be properties that change to show the different kind of states. And maybe let's just add a rectangle on scene. Let's give it a width, let's say of 300. A height, let's fix it with the parent.height. And then let's give it a color to make it sure that we can see the rectangle. Let's give it a color of orange and save that. So you should be able to see this rectangle being added here. So let's define just as the sample I showed earlier. Let's define three states whereby you have a state whereby this rectangle is full. Maybe you can also have another state when it's smaller. So to use states, so under the rectangle object, just add a property called states, and then this is actually an array. And inside this array, we'll be having the different states we want to have incorporated in it. So for each state, it needs to be defined as a state that way. And then each state can have property changes. So basically it defines what needs to change for this particular state. So maybe let me give this an idea. Just do bg. So the target is actually a component which you actually will have this state being affected on, and then you can do now the property and say just do width. Let's give it a width, let's say of let's do 70. You can have many properties. You can also maybe do color. Do color, let's give it a color of red here. So we have one state, and this state has two properties which actually have to change. One is the width, another one is the color. And then for this state it will have the parameter called when, and this when defines what actually at what point does this state come into effect. So maybe I can create a property here called is menu collapsed, and I can set it to false. So basically, if you don't know about properties are basically a way to define data, and this data can be bound to the property. You also get a signal such that when this property changes, you can be notified it has actually changed. So if you use a property in any place, then it will be evaluated whenever that data changes. So in this case, I want to say this state only happens when this menu collapsed. So basically, we have collapsed the menu. So this state will come into effect. We can also give the opposite of that. And since it's an array, you have to give a comma here. And then for this case, we'll do when it's not collapsed. We'll do a target. Originally, we were at 300, so we can just revert back to 300. The color was orange. Yes. So whenever these two states change, then it will affect this data here. So to be able to see these changes, then we need a way to trigger this is menu collapsed. So with that, let me add a button inside this rectangle, and let me just add a button here. Oh, let me just actually make the whole rectangle clickable by adding a mouse area, and then let me fill the mouse area to the whole parent, and then with that, let me also add on the one click. So once you click this rectangle, then we need to toggle this property. So whatever the value it is, it needs to be equal to the inverse of that value. So we can basically do that. And so I think I need to auto restart my yes, need to restart that one. So with this restart, then I think my properties will take into effect. So if you click on this, you can now see that once you click on it, it actually changes. And one of the beauty about this is now you can add some animation to it. And how to do that? Once you have these states well defined, we are actually targeting the color property and the width property. So you can come to the rectangle here and basically add. You can just do maybe behavior on width and just do a number animation. So this is a simple one to play around with the width. So if you click on it now, you'll see it's not an instant switch. It actually shows you like it slides in and out. So for the color as well, you can do behavior on color, and here you can do color animation. So for any of these animations that you don't provide any parameters, then there are default values for all these animations, so they will kick into effect. So now once you click on this, you'll see like a very subtle change between the two different colors, which is actually very cool and nice. So a good example, think about this as a sidebar, whereby now maybe you have it minified, like this menu you have on your left here on the Qt Creator. Then maybe you have an expanded version, whereby when you click on it, you have a full shown menu. If it's something like a button, you can now say maybe for a button you have the hover state, you have maybe the mouse press state, and then you have the release state, you have the check state. So you can have all the different kind of states whereby now you can define the different properties that change with that. So with that, that's a very simple tutorial showing you how to use states in QTQML. I hope you found that useful, and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.